guys, I'm Miss Mila Rose and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm picking up my Storytime series with the next episode in my story. I'm going to give you a brief recap as to what happened in the last Storytime episode. In my last Storytime, I talked about my battle with depression, being very lonely, miserable. I spent a lot of time at the Vancouver Public Library and I was living in a really shitty small room situation in Gastown, downtown Vancouver. And one day when I was leaving the library, I saw a kid that was handing out flyers, and these flyers were advertising a student dorm. And I was very, very interested because I very much wanted to get out of my living situation I was currently in. In today's story time, I'm going to be talking about my move to North Vancouver, my life there, and my visit back home in Toronto for winter break. So without further ado, let's get right into today's story time. Immediately upon returning to my room, I'm reading this flyer and I'm so very interested in moving into this place and checking out this place and doing the whole transition to North Vancouver, even though that would have meant a longer commute to school, and also it would have meant an extra expense because I would have to commute, and it was like a 2-zone. There's different zones in Vancouver, I think 1 zone, 2 zone, and 3 zone, and that would have been a 2-zone, so it'd be relatively pricey. I want to say it was like $375 per ticket. So in the morning, because it was already like 9-10 o'clock at night at this point, I generally stayed at the library till really late at night, had phone calls with my brother at home, and then I would make my way back to the room just to sleep and then do it all over again the next day at school. In the morning, I believe it might have been a Saturday is what it was, I called the dorms and they had scheduled a time for me to come see the dorms sometime during the week, in the afternoon I think it was. So I made my way down to North Vancouver, and it was quite a trip because you had to go take the bus to a transfer zone and then you would take another bus down to where the North Vancouver dorms were. But when I went to go check out the dorms, I was seated in an area talking a little bit about the building and the rooms and the prices. They let me know that it was about, I want to say it was like $400 a month, and it was currently a very empty building, so I would have an entire room to myself, but the rooms were made for 2 students room to be living in. I was shown around and all the rooms looked the same. There was a big rectangular area and a small walking space between beds. There was a very small bed, and then on the other side of the baseboard there was a study desk with a light, a couple of shelves, and on the foot of the bed there was a little closet that you could store your things in, and nothing more. There was a window that was split down the center on the back of the wall. There were shared bathrooms and kitchens, but they were split. Girls versus boys, females versus males, everything was split. The dorm was split. I love that so much because I felt so much safer. And the bathrooms were very spacious. There was multiple shower stalls. They were very small, skinny showers with a shower curtain, and then there were sinks and toilets outside of the showering area, kind of like a public bathroom situation, but also with showers, kind of like a gym situation, honestly. And then the shared kitchen had a fridge, it had cupboards, a sink, it had a water dispenser with cold water and hot water, so I would frequently make like teas and things there. And there's also some couch situations set up and tables that you could hang out. I never did, because even though it was like a dorm situation, it wasn't for my school, and I don't know what schools these girls that actually lived here were attending, going to, but these dorms were so awesome. I loved it so much. I was really, really excited to move into these dorms, and I was like, yeah, let's do it right now. And so I first had to contact my current landlord. I guess I was signed up under a 3-month contract, so I had to wait towards the end of November. I think I might have cut a deal with him to do like 2.5 months or something. I don't completely remember what the situation was, but I really wanted out of this place so bad. And I think I had a deposit down as well that I needed a refund for. So I think that was part of the situation. But as soon as I could, I made the move to these North Vancouver dorms, and they had internet. They had a high-speed internet, which is like the biggest takeaway. And they also had laundry machines. I don't think they were coin laundry. I think they were free to use. So that was also a massive plus, that I didn't have to pay to do my laundry. And I think they also had laundry detergent already there to use too, which was really, really cool. So that was awesome, because I think I do remember buying my own laundry detergent when I was in the downtown situation. Since I got internet again, I was very excited to start playing League of Legends again. And I did hit up my friend Amy and her friend group that I was previously playing with in Toronto when I did have internet back then, which was only like, again, 2.5 months ago. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy in the background. Aaron, at this time, I don't think he was playing with us. I don't think I saw him online at this time, but I was playing with Amy and these two guys, and I was still talking to my brother. I actually ended up getting him to play League of Legends with me and my friends, and he actually ended up purchasing a round-trip flight for me to return to Toronto for winter break. I was really, really broke, but he was awesome that he was doing that for me. I didn't want him to do that for me, but like also like he was like, no, don't worry about it, like I got it, and I was really grateful for that. And I was also going to be staying with my brother too. He still had that apartment that he had in Mississauga, so I was going to be living with him for the time being that I was visiting back home. So while I'm staying in Toronto, my brother asks if I will go to my mother's house with him for Christmas. And I hadn't seen my mother for years. I hadn't seen her since I pretty much got kicked out. I think around that time of my life, I mean, I was doing a lot of introspection throughout the years, and I knew my mother had her issues, like psychological issues. At this time in my life, I was trying to give her a second chance, and I was trying to allow a potential reconnect to happen, to not desire it, but to be open to it. We go by bus to my mother's house for Christmas. I remember I had gained a lot of weight. So the previous summer, I had gained a lot of weight, and then during my 12th grade year, I lost all the weight. And I think I went down to like 127 from 168 pounds. During the first semester of college, I went back up to 168 pounds. I was really big at this time, and I was wearing really big baggy winter sweater pants. I did not feel comfortable in my own skin. I remember that very vividly. And it was nice seeing the cats again. I had a childhood cat that he was my baby. I had him since I was like 4 years old, and we would sleep together a lot and we would cuddle a lot, and he was my baby. I loved him, and he was so old, and I was just trying to brush him and pet him, and I tried to give him a bit of a bath and take care of him a little bit, because it definitely looked like my mother was not actively grooming him, and he was so old that he wasn't really grooming himself anymore. And there was the other cat that was, well, we had a few. So we had my childhood cat, we had the second cat that I had gotten that had kittens, and then we had the 2 kittens. They were all still there, and so I was there predominantly hanging out with the cats when I was at the house, and I really didn't talk to my mother much at all. I would make small talk very short with my mother, but less out of being like annoyed with her and more out of being like maybe traumatized, I don't know. And my mother just made like all this food, and so we were there eating, and eventually we left and we went back to my brother's place. I remember during my stay, I did spend a couple days with my friend Amy. I stayed the night. I had a bit of a sleepover at her place. I brought my laptop. I think it was an unintentional sleepover. Like, I think I was there to hang out with her, and she's like, do you want to just stay the night? And I was like, sure. But we play League of Legends like all night, and she was showing me and talking to these guys that she was kind of dating online. This one American guy she was talking to from California or something, and telling me about him, and we were also gaming with him. I forgot he was part of the gaming group too, so he was also a big part of the gaming group for a bit as well. And I remember Amy made a post publicly that we were playing League of Legends, her and I. That guy that sat next to me in chemistry class in 11th grade, he actually messaged and replied to the post. We're gonna call him Daniel for the sake of the story time. He was like, whoa, you guys play League of Legends? I play League of Legends. And he's like, you guys should play with us sometime. We're like, sure, dope, that'd be cool. And I didn't know that until like the morning. I think it was like a really late night reply. And Amy was like, oh, look who responded to the post. And I was like, oh, crazy, that's so cool. I went back to my brother's, and my flight back to Vancouver was coming up. So I think I took the bus. But yeah, I took the bus to the airport. I went back to Vancouver. I remember I had travel anxiety because I was home with my friends and people that I loved and cared about, and I didn't want to go back to the depression that was Vancouver and living alone, and just wasn't fun. So getting back to Vancouver, of course, I picked back up League of Legends. Daniel hit me up and asked if I wanted to play with him and his friends, and I was like, sure. Why not? I'll join you guys and play with you guys. Because the thing is that like Amy, I absolutely loved playing with Amy. She was my best friend since middle school. We'd known each other for years. I loved chatting with her. I loved hanging out with her. But she was kind of hard to get a hold of, and as we got older, it was increasingly sporadic for her to be available online and present. So I just didn't count on her being around on League of Legends to hang out and play with. So when Daniel hit me up and Amy wasn't online, I'm like, yeah, of course, like, why not? Like, who else am I gonna play with, right? So I joined a game with Daniel. So you'd go on Skype and you'd join call, and there's a bunch of other people. So this is where I'm going to leave my story time off for today. I am going to be talking about League of Legends a lot in my next story time episode. I'm going to talk about the breakdown of the friend group, the friend dynamics, and list the characters and all their names, because I'm going to be talking about League of Legends extensively for the remainder of the chunk of story times here that I'm going to be sharing with you guys here on YouTube. I know last episode was a really long episode, and this episode was a much shorter episode. I really do apologize for that, but I really do want to break my story time up in specific segments, and I think this is a good place to end this episode. So if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, turning on that notifications bell so you don't miss my next story time coming out very soon. Bye for now, till next time.